Dear colleagues, good morning. The Ukrainian Crisis Media Center starts its working day, and our first topic is prisoners of Kremlin. The defense claims inactivity of Ukrainians' investigative organs, and we'll have speakers Olena Karpyuk, wife of detained in Chechnya Mykola Karpyuk, Tomak, journalist at the Center for the Civil Liberties, volunteer of Euromaidan SOS, and Nadiya Volkova, and Maria Klich, mother of another imprisoned person. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for coming here and for the fact that you don't lose your interest to this extremely important topic. The Center for Civil Liberties has been insisting that we should speak at least about 12 people as political prisoners from Ukraine who are imprisoned by Kremlin, and the two persons whose case is probably the most brutal are Mykola Karpyuk and Mykola Klich, who were detained in August 2014. They are now in custody in the city of Grozny, and they are being accused of killing Russian military servicemen during combat action in Chechnya and in forming a bandit gang. Well, we have changed topic of our press conference a bit. Well, the Ukrainian investigative bodies are inactive as far as these persons are concerned, and the documents that we wanted to publish were published yesterday. You can have a look at them in Zerkalo Tizhnya, in the publication by Nastya Stanko, and Mykola Karpyuk there tells us about the torture that he was subjected to by the FSB servicemen. There are some inaccuracies there. The forensic expertise did not certify the use of torture, and both Stanislav Klich and Mykola Karpyuk have given evidence, testimony about many things under torture, but the defense have already filed a claim that Klich refuses his testimony, and today also Mykola Karpyuk and his defense file a claim about using torture in relation to Karpyuk, and about the fact that all the testimony that he's provided was given under torture and moral and psychological pressure in the form of threats towards Mykola Karpyk's wife and son. And now you can see the map of moving Mykola Karpyuk around Russia. He was in Bryansk, then in Yessentuki, then in Vladikavkaz, then he was taken to Chelyabinsk in the Ural Mountains, and then he was taken back to Grozny. And another several words about the case. We would like also to dwell on the fact that the story about Mr. Yatsenyuk in this case is a bit comical, but not so much laughable, because when we saw some documents in this case, and we'll show them to you, we thought that this case was against the Ukrainian national self-defense, but now we see that it's aimed against the Ukrainian top officials, same as the case of Mr. Litvinov. So now you see the fragment of the accusation conclusion, and now you can see that the name of Mr. Yatsenyuk is mentioned there 220 times. So in fact, this is the case against Ukrainian top officials and Ukrainian statehood, and Stanislav Klich and Mykola Karpyuk are just being cynically used by the Russian authorities to discredit the Ukrainian political leadership. I'm not mentioning family surnames here, but you know, the fact that the Ukrainian Prime Minister is being accused of taking part in combat action is very important. And here we see the fragment. Well, it's ridiculous, but this is a excerpt from the official document of the Russian accusation. In this battle, he remembered Mr. Yatsenyuk, who fired from Kalashnikov submachine gun and who fired at least 10 minutes. However, he does not know whether he killed someone. Everyone was in their places, but Mr. Yatsenyuk was running around. He had a military helmet on his head. After the battle, Yatsenyuk was among the journalists. He was subject of many photos. He posed. Well, I don't know, maybe you know about some video or photo material with Mr. Yatsenyuk at war. And of course, we are grateful to the Russian Investigation Committee for another sensation and publication of these documents. We also would like to rebuff you know, there was a lot of theories about how Mr. Yatsenyuk was made his appearance in here, and there was a theory that Karpyuk just mentioned everybody whom he could remember, whose surnames he could remember. But now we have an excerpt from the protocol of the interrogation, and the interrogation initiated the question whether Yatsenyuk was there. And Karpyuk says that he doesn't know anything about this, but this does confirm the version, the theory that this was the aim from the very start, to discredit the Ukrainian top officials. You know that Mr. Malofeyev was sentenced last week, and there's a lot of questions about his affiliation with the Ukrainian National Self-Defense. Why we are quoting all this? Because we should know that the Ukrainian investigative bodies and Ukrainian authorities would be very much interested in just squashing this case and to get as much evidence of innocence of Karpyuk and Klich. However, at the moment we see there's a cooperation, there's a step forward on the part of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and the Office of Ombudsman also, but not the Ministry of Interior, nor the Procurator General's office do anything, and we think that the position of the security service is also very weak. We, together with the representative of the Ukrainian Helsinki Union, we would like to avoid any heroization. We should not call them heroes or bow to them. The matter is not this. The rights, human rights are very seriously violated. Ukrainian consuls were not allowed to see them. They have just seen their lawyers. They are being subjected to torture. Their cases are falsified. And here, their rights are also violated here. And the third point is that with these people, with using these people in absurd criminal cases, Russia continues the war with Ukraine. And I give the floor to Olena Karpyuk.
Good afternoon, everyone. I'm the wife of Mykola Olena. I also would like to draw your attention to the fact of inactivity of our militia, Dniprovsky department, where I submitted the statement that the person is missing. Later, the investigator was appointed Golub Yuri Ivanovich. And that case was about the person missing, and it was requalified as murder. I learned it from the lawyers who were controlling what was happening with this case. In February, that case was transferred to the main department. I believed it was transferred to the main department, but in fact it was in the Dniprovsky district department. the deputy head of the main department of Kiev called me, and he informed that they will be in charge of that case later. I understood why it was that case, because Vyacheslav Farsa was detained, and they needed me to provide some information about him. There was no protocol of the interrogation. It was more about Farsa, but not about my husband. Then in March, on the 17th of March, when we were near the Ministry of Domestic Affairs, the girl who was an intern called me. She requested me to close the case. I went to the district department and we talked. There were many investigators there. They were all the time changing the investigators, and it was impossible to blame someone specific in inactivity. We have not closed the case. I refused. As of now, on the 1st of October, we submitted the statement to Avakov, and that is Article 146, kidnapping. We wanted the investigators to help us collect evidence that my husband is not guilty in the events of 1994, because that is what he is accused in actions, in participation in the events of 1994. So I don't know what's happening with this statement. And also, we want the protocol of interrogation of these witnesses in 1994 to be given to us, because the court will be taking place in Grozny in a couple of weeks. We have little time left. I am the mother of Cliff Stanislav. I am mother, that's why I'm so much excited, as well as my husband and myself. I am 71. The son is missing. This is our only son. I will not talk a lot. I would like to address the state so that they somehow help us set our son free. Good afternoon to everyone. I am Volkova Nadiya, legal expert of Ukrainian Helsinki Human Rights Union. I would like to say a few words about what was done and what was not done by Ukrainian authorities in respect to these prisoners of Kremlin. They have illegally detained the citizens of Ukraine, and if their guilt were to be proven in the court according to the criminal code of Ukraine, they had to return these people to Ukraine. So several documents on human rights were violated. And what is tragic in this situation is that Ukraine, with its indifference and inactivity, leaves its citizens. And I can make an assumption that unless Ukraine were so indifferent to the prisoners of the Kremlin, then we wouldn't have such a category of citizens. And now, as to inactivity, Ministry of Domestic Affairs, of Internal Affairs, we failed to get the materials of the case. When we were trying to get the materials, the investigators were busy. The materials were somewhere in the other departments, everything that the investigators were trying to do before February this year. After February this year, they stopped doing anything. We saw the approval from the head investigator to get data from telephone operators that were providing services to Mykola Karpyuk. According to that, we could have established the list of potential witnesses with who Mykola communicated before he was kidnapped. So basically, no one went anywhere, no one received any material. There's also the approval to interrogate people who were with Mykola, who crossed the border together with him, but there are no protocols of interrogations of these people in the materials of the case. On the 21st of October, we found out that Mykola Karpyuk is alive, and where he was, we learned it from his wife. This case has never been requalified. The case was closed. The wife had to again go to the main department with the request to open a new case. Also, in the materials of the case, we have such a request from the Investigation Committee of Russian Federation, so that Ukrainian investigation collects witnesses, collects evidence, collects some documents, the references, the information about the family, so that they send it to the investigation committee, the protocols of interrogation of the witnesses. That was they never replied to that. As to the and on Stanislav Klich, the relatives addressed the Ministry of Interior, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Security Service of Ukraine, but the case hasn't been opened. Talking about prosecutor's office, it's not mentioned even in the case. The General Prosecutor's Office should be the main office. According to Minsk Convention, they had to, Russian Federation had to return the Ukrainian citizens to Ukraine. Basically, they could have sent a request about extradition. That hasn't been done. They could have created the joint group together with the Russian Federation investigators, or maybe collect evidence and submit this evidence to investigation committee. As to security service, during the working meetings, they were present, our working meetings, they were present there. When we requested them to help us collect evidence, their reply was that isn't within the competence of the security service. It's quite interesting because the competence of the security service is not outlined anywhere. But the law in Ukraine on the security service, Article 24, Item 12, specifies that provide assistance to Ministry of Interior and other law enforcement bodies in different criminal cases. We do not know about a single case when security service would provide the assistance that we were requesting. So now the work of the, we are doing all that the Prosecutor's Office, Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Security Service have to be doing. Then why do we need the law enforcement bodies? Because it's all volunteers who are working now. We have already submitted the appeals. We are working on the text of amendments or addendum on Stanislav Klich. We submit this not just against Russia but against Ukraine because the law enforcement bodies are inactive. The European Court on Human Rights will be asking Ukraine what has been done by Ukraine to protect the rights of their citizens. If the bodies do nothing, they will be not able to answer anything, and so this case will be lost. Ukraine will have to pay a serious compensation, and the reputation will be really damaged. So there is a big request to all the bodies, while this time and chance, do something. In the context of do something, we have some demands, some requirements. We want to address the General Prosecutor's Office and the Minister of Interior to file the criminal case according to the Article 146 of the Criminal Code of Ukraine. Second, to appoint the responsible investigators in these cases who would coordinate the work on collecting evidence for Karpyuk, and third, till the 9th of October this year, to collect the evidence of persons who could confirm that Karpyuk and Klich are not guilty in the cases that are incriminated against them. And we have submitted the list of potential witnesses to the Ministry of the Foreign Affairs that are to be asked questions. We have all the contact data of these people, and this is to be done till the 12th of October. The Minister of Interior Affairs and the Minister of Foreign Affairs should personally control the cases of Karpyuk and Klich so that their protection is effective. To conduct the proper investigation of the circumstances of kidnapping Mykola Karpyuk and his taking to the territory of Russian Federation, and to make the results of the investigation public. We also addressed the Security Service of Ukraine in accordance to the list of potential witnesses to take part of work on collecting evidence which is within the competences of the Security Service. Mykola Karpyuk indicates that the head of Security Service, Gretsak, in 94-95 personally was the leader of UNAUNSO in Rivne. We request to add to the list of Sentsov and Sanchenka the persons who were involved into violating the human rights of the citizens of Ukraine. We have this list, it's not the final, we will add more people there, more names there, and the address to the President of Ukraine, Poroshenko, because there were public statements made by the President of Ukraine that Mykola Karpyuk and other hostages of the Kremlin are to be liberated, to personally control this case. During the discussions to name all the citizens of Ukraine who are illegally imprisoned by the Russian Federation because of political reasons, the names. And also control that the liberation of these people is included into so-called Paris agreements. Thank you.
Thank you, Nadiya. Maybe there are questions to Nadiya, maybe to Maria. If there are no questions, oh yeah, please be laconic and introduce yourself. Dmytro Klemyuk, Kyiv Television Company. Is there information where and when Karpyuk and Klich were seized? Mykola Karpyuk was captured on the border between Chernihiv in Ukraine and Bryansk in Russia, and this was in the night from the 17th to 18th of March. He was accused of violating some administrative protocol, and first he was arrested together with his with the people that were together with him, Fursov, Demidiy, and Yankivsky. Then Mykola was kept in custody, and Fursa and Yankovsky were returned to Ukraine. You know, we mentioned the publication in Zerkalo Tizhnya by Nastya Stanko. There's written testimony by Mykola Karpyuk, which relatively exhaustively tells us about what was happening. In fact, he was arrested after he crossed the border. We have the information that he crossed the border through an official channel. There was no kidnapping, like, for instance, with Rozvozhaev, who was in Kiev and then emerged in Moscow in court. So formally he did officially cross the border, but there's a lot of nuances, and we are not convinced, in view of the very doubtful story of Mykola finding himself in Russia, that his testimony is true. Maybe he has given such a testimony in order to protect himself and other people, but we have some grounds to believe that the first place where he was detained was Bryansk. As far as Stanislav is concerned, he was detained in a hotel in the Russian city of Orel in August last year. Any other questions? If there are no other questions, we'll round this off. Thank you, friends, and whoever needs the documents, we can send you electronic versions, soft copies. Our next press conference is